afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chuck Gibney, and I'll be your narrator for today's ceremony. On behalf of the Commander, 505th Command and Control Wing, Colonel Richard R. Dickens, welcome to Nellis Air Force Base and to the 505th Combat Training Group Change of Command. During today's ceremony, you'll witness Colonel Shayne Yorton relinquish command after 2 years as Commander to Colonel N. Gibney. Colonel Gibney comes to us from Arlington, Virginia, where he served as the Chief of the Futures and Concepts Division, Deputy Chief of Staff for Strategy, Operational Requirements, Headquarters, United States Air Force, the Pentagon. The service history is detailed in the program. All military personnel are reminded to stand at attention during the singing of our national anthem. We invite our civilian guests to stand and place your right hand over your heart. The change of command ceremony is rooted in military history, dating back to the 18th century during the reign of King Frederick the Great of Prussia. During that time, organizational flags were developed with color arrangements and symbols unique to each particular unit. To this flag and its commander, the soldiers of the unit would dedicate their loyalty and trust. When a change of command was to take place, the outgoing commander would pass the flag to the individual assuming command. This gesture was accomplished in front of the unit, so that all could see and witness the new leader assuming his dutiful position. The individual who controlled the flag also controlled the soldiers and their allegiances. This tradition survived throughout military history. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the presentation of the colors, our national anthem, and the invocation.
Present the colors.
Go. 10, up. 4, hard. Forward, hard. Go. Pull. Present, hard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous heights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Arm.
Thank you, Captain Hayes Rao. Please join me in the invocation. Let's pray. Eternal God, Father of lights, thank you for being the giver of every good and perfect gift, for the gifts of life and health, of family and friends, for freedom and the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the gift of trustworthy and inspiring leadership, and for sending Vandal to guide the 505th CTG to the next level of innovation and effectiveness in combat training. As he takes the guide on today, bless vision, strength, and the daily wisdom to separate the precious from the worthless. Thank you for all the energy and experience and creativity and the humanity that he brings to this challenging job, and help him to savor every moment with Jennifer, Matthew, and Miles. The boys won't remember that Vandal was a colonel and a group commander, but but they'll know that he was the kind of daddy who could sit at their kid-sized table with coffee in one hand, baby Miles in the other, and wearing a cereal box for a hat, just like Matthew. As Sock hands off the guidon and the sacred iPhone today, thank you for his wholehearted leadership and commitment over the past 2 years. Bless him and Marty as they prepare for the big transition, and encourage him with the deep satisfaction that comes from a career of honorable service. Lead Sock with clarity and courage, and with the indelible memories and lifelong friendships that he'll carry with him into his next career and into a life where all PT is voluntary. For your many gifts, for leaders, families, friends, and the privilege of serving the men and women of the 505th Combat Training Group, for all these blessings and gifts, we give you thanks. Amen. Please be seated. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our distinguished guest today, Colonel Yorton's wife, Marty. Colonel Gibney's wife, Jennifer, and their sons, Matthew and Miles. Colonel Gibney's mother-in-law, Irene McCluskey. The Vice Commander, 505th Command and Control Wing, Colonel Carl Weinrecht. The Command Chief, 505th Command and Control Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Cornelius Thompson. The Commander of 99th Air Base Wing, Colonel Todd Dyer. And the Vice Commander of 99th Air Base Wing, Colonel Jack Gardner. The Interim Command Chief, 99th Air Base Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Vincent Schuer. The Commander of Air Force Joint Test Program Office, Colonel Sean Higgins. The Deputy Commander of 505th Combat Training Group, Lieutenant Colonel James Landreth. The Superintendent of 505th Combat Training Group, Senior Master Sergeant Cesar Ramos. And last, but certainly not least, a huge welcome to the members of the 505th Combat Training Group. We'd also like to welcome all other active and retired commanders, colonels, chief master sergeants, first sergeants, members of the 505th Combat Training Group, as well as other members of Nellis Air Force Base attendance today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our presiding official, the Commander, 505th Command and Control Wing, Colonel Richard R. Dickens.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, both in person and online, particularly as we observe the first new Juneteenth federal holiday, which is an important milestone for our nation, particularly in its role as a beacon for freedom and equality. I'd like to thank all distinguished visitors for being here, commanders, chiefs, senior civilians, superintendents, for making time on your calendar. Thanks to you and all the 99th Air Base Wing team. Thank you for being here. It's a huge support to our mission. We appreciate it. Hey, thanks for being here as well. Great to see all our mission partners here. I want to say welcome to the family and friends of Colonel Yorton, particularly Marty and their kids that are watching, Maureen, James, and Caitlin, and her husband Nick. Greetings to Sock's dad Jerry and his wife Cindy, Sock's sister Jennifer and her husband Thane, and their boys Ken and Kellen, Marty's parents Donna and Kent, and all the other aunts and uncles that are watching. Welcome also to the family and friends of Colonel Gibney, including his wife Jen, your sons Matthew and Miles, who clearly are going to win the best dressed contest today, and Jen's mom Irene. I also want to say hello to Vandal's parents, Peter and Phyllis, and Vandal's brothers Brady, Trevor, and Nathan. Lastly, a shout out to all of Vandal's former co-workers at Skunkworks, and above all to the men and women of the 505th Combat Training Group. Of course, this area doesn't happen without those who give of their time and their talents. So my thanks to everyone who planned or participated today. Now, those of you that have seen me do more than one change command, you know that this is generally where I'd like to throw in a joke to keep it light. And usually my wife helps me work on these, but she's back home in Florida, and so as I was on the way out the door, she asked if we were going to broadcast this online. And I said, of course, we got a lot of people who want to dial in and watch these two great gentlemen. And she said, great, I like watching you give speeches online. And I said, really? She said, yeah. And occasionally I'll even turn on the sound. So, for those of you that don't have a mute button, my apologies. But these ceremonies are always special because command is such an honor. And it's a great opportunity to reflect, say thanks for a job well done, and recognize a new leader. And what's pretty neat is that we got 3 generations of CTG commanders here. So thanks for being here. Big Dog, it's kind of neat to have you guys here and hopefully get a picture before one departs. I was fortunate to have Sock Yorton at the helm of this group for almost all of my time in the 505th, which provided me with great leadership lessons just watching him lead his group. And what stood out to me was the transformation of the group during his time in command. Our Chief of Staff of the Air Force emphasized accelerating change, and the CTG has embraced it to heart. For starters, it's worth noting that when we did this ceremony 2 years ago, it was actually a tag. It was a 505th. Shortly thereafter, we were realigning the groups so that the flag squadrons and the comm squadrons support them would be under the same 06 commander. And though the change was set in motion before I got to the 505th, I think it's demonstrated to be a huge benefit. And under Colonel Yorton's leadership, the group has continued to evolve to get after emerging mission requirements, and as the demand for all things command and control have skyrocketed with the emphasis on joint all-domain command and control. SOC's group has been at the heart of that growing enterprise, ensuring world-class training and major exercises, experimentation to drive the discussion on the C2 into the future, and establishing and securing the myriad of connections of communications networks that make those things possible. It certainly wasn't an easy task that we asked of SOC. First, he's done it while being separated from Marty and the family for the better part of the last few years. Both of you for the sacrifice of the time you spent apart. Marty, my thanks to you, particularly during the burden of this assignment, which would always be a challenge, but even more so in the face of the pandemic. Now, SOC's also responsible for commanding over 500 folks that are spread out among various locations to include 3 different states, Nevada, New Mexico, and Florida. So when we talk about span of responsibility, his literally spans across the entire country. And it certainly isn't easy when we get a head start in memory every day, like 2 hours, and have a chance to pile up emails into his container waiting for him there. And when I took command, I asked SOC to get after 3 priorities. I asked him to get after people, mission, and future. When it comes to people, he focused on mentoring his commanders, especially showing them how to manage contracts and hold people accountable. He also focused on civilian hiring to fill vacant positions, an important element in a wing that is 2/3 civilian, and he drove the group from a 30% vacancy rate to roughly 7%. And of course, we have to talk about the pandemic, although most of you know that I'm happy never to talk about it again. But he led his airmen during that tough time, and also managed to figure out how to balance the requirements of risk of force and risk of mission, and in particular manage all the priority requirements that came in after we started with floodgates again, and everybody wanted to do everything at the same time. The mission, he helped drive metrics for each squadron so they could determine whether or not they were truly effective in executing their responsibilities, and working with squadron commanders to determine each unit's specific mission, vision, and priorities so that they would align with the rest of the organization. They also executed a myriad of exercises, including Blue Flag, Virtual Flag, Warfighter, Austere Challenge, Northern Edge, Pacific Sentry, ABMS on-ramps, JASSI-2 experiments, and the list goes on and on. A list which includes not just Air Force exercises, but joint coalition exercises as well. It's no understatement to say that this group impacts airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines across the globe. It shapes the way our joint coalition teams fight at the operational level board. Finally, when it comes to the future, they also led the Air Force in developing mission defense team concept to defend the networks that we rely on daily for warfighting. And they grew the Shadow Operations Center, which is now the Joint Staff's lead JASSI-2 Battle Lab, as well as the Air Force's lead ABMS Battle Lab. They also opened up just yesterday a space downtown to get after DevSecOps. The JASSI-2 efforts weren't limited to the shock. They were baked into every squadron, defining and evolving next generation command and control. In short, this group is fundamental to the Air Force's core mission of command and control. SOC, you've done a tremendous job in the last 2 years. I've appreciated your passion, your hard work, and your ability to raise the game of those around you by demanding of them the same high standards you have for yourself. Not only did you get after people, mission, and future, you did it while embodying the Air Force's core values of integrity, excellence, and service before self. And speaking of service before self, thanks to you and Marty for your myriad of contributions and sacrifices, not just in this assignment, but across your careers. Although this isn't a retirement ceremony, I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the fact that SOC's going to take a flight soon after this assignment. So I'd like to offer up a round of well-deserved applause for his 25 years of dedicated service to the mission. As we bid farewell to the Yortons, we're fortunate to welcome Colonel Aaron Gibney, his wife Jen, and his sons Matthew and Miles into the 505th family. When I was working on bids, Vandal's name came up over and over again as one of the best in the Bryce. And when you look at his records and his experience, it's easy to see why. He's a master air battle manager, weapons school graduate, SAS graduate, former strategy plans team chief, graduated squadron commander from Air Patrol Squadron, and CSAF fellow. He has one master's degree in military strategy, another in aircraft strategy and technology, which should prove quite useful. And he comes to us from being the Air Force Chief of Futures and Concepts, also known as Skunk Works. When we talk about getting after the future faster and accelerating change, the word future is literally in his last job title. So I think we're onto the right track. He's got experience at command and control at the tactical, operational, strategic level with an emphasis on strategy and technology. So I know that you're the right person for the job, and I look forward to seeing what you accomplish over the next few years. So in closing, SOC, I just want to say thanks for taking this group to new heights and making your airmen better airmen and better command and control warfighters. Chris and I wish you, Marty, and the family all the best. We hope that you maintain close ties with both us and the Air Force. Vandal, congratulations on this new assignment. You're the right person for the job, and I look forward to what you're going to accomplish. It's your job to take it even further than these last two gentlemen have. I'll offer you what I tell every person that has the honor of taking a guide on. If you take care of your people, I promise you that they'll take care of the mission. So good luck to you, and thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Dickens. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the Legion of Merit.
Colonel Yorton.
Attention to orders. The citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Colonel Shayne R. Yorton. Colonel Shayne R. Yorton distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct, the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 505th Combat Training Group, 505th Command and Control Wing, Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, from 28 June 2019 to 18 June 2021. During this period, Colonel Yorton exhibited selfless and superior leadership to 450 personnel across 4 squadrons in 3 geographically separated locations, which provided pivotal experimentation, exercising, and training for command and control of air, space, and cyber systems at the tactical and operational levels of war. Additionally, he led numerous engagements with senior leaders, including the Secretary of the Air Force, Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and the commanders of 3 major commands in order to advance joint all-domain command and control through the integration of live and virtual training. Under his unwavering guidance, the Shadow Operations Center Nellis, the Department of Defense's only joint all-domain command and control battle lab, received a $4 million virtual desktop infrastructure and a $1 million facility upgrade, enabling full integration with other joint command and control battle labs and furthering the development of the Air Force's Advanced Battle Management System program. Moreover, Colonel Yorton led the 505th Combat Training Group in preparing over 150,000 personnel for combat operations by conducting 76 joint and coalition training exercises at the Distributed Mission Operations Center, the Shadow Operations Center Nellis, and Distributed Mission Operations Center Space. He also orchestrated a $7 million building redesign and upgrade for the Distributed Mission Operations Center, enabling over 80 joint and coalition exercises and improving training for 68,000 personnel in a multi-domain environment. Finally, as an expert in leadership, development, and mentoring leaders, he modernized the group's recognition program by creating a new virtual board process that garnered over 25 wing and 10 higher headquarters awards. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Yorton culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Dickens. It is my pleasure now to introduce the Commander 505th Combat Training Group, Colonel Shayne Yorton.
Okay, wow. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Not only those folks here at Nellis Air Force Base, they're also watching online. I just want to welcome all the commanders, all the chiefs, first sergeants, and family and friends that are here today to be part of this wonderful day. Now, I want to apologize up front that I'm not going to be able to thank everybody, but actually, maybe I have a pretty good idea. Shiz? Thinking we should do barnyard, weapon school, standard, and I just go around the room and try to thank everybody. Yes? No? Okay, so the last year, you probably need guidance and direction all the time, and now you stop. More on Shiz in a little bit. Again, thank you all for being here. I want to thank the people who made this happen today. Thank you, Toby, Josie, Caesar, Chuck. Thank you for flying out here. Appreciate it. Also, wing staff as far as Linda and Deb. Thank you all for making this happen today. It's never easy when there's 306s trying to schedule time for practice. Change of commands for the Warfare Center, household goods, ribbon cutting, a lot of things going on, a lot of work behind the scenes. So I appreciate everyone's work and making it happen. Thank you, Cowboy, for that. I want to thank Colonel Dickens and Krista. We've known each other for a while now. We're going back to our time in Mountain Home. I appreciate your friendship and mentorship over the years. I am very grateful that Colonel Dickens let us run with scissors. And what he told us was, I want you to proceed till apprehended. And I only think I was apprehended once, but I know I'm even more, but I know one for sure. But I appreciate that because it's what we need to be doing. And I appreciate you giving the guidance not only to me, but as our commanders making that happen. So thank you. Chief, thank you for your friendship and mentorship over the next of the year, and then I can't wait to see what you do the following year and just getting after things. Shiz, known each other for a while. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you were here. You're always a sounding board, providing me, not only the right answer in the end, but hey, you think about this, and this. You've always provided me that through my career, and it didn't stop. I know it can keep going. You're dealing with Bandville and the rest of the squad commanders, so I can't thank you enough for that. I'd like to thank the 99th Leadership Team, Face, Jack, and Chief. What we do here in the 505th would not happen, especially on staff, but also the 805th without your support. I felt like there was a couple of months there where I was always going to Jack, going, I have a problem, and here's an issue, and not always a solution. And Jack was always on board going, how do I make this better? I'm here to support, we got to get after this. It means a lot to get through those, so appreciate you making that happen. I have to thank the heart and soul of the CTG, which is the front office. So Jeff, Josie, Toby, Cowboy, Bruce, Caesar, and Sam. I'd also like to thank the folks that aren't here today, Michael, Alyssa, and Danielle. I told them the other day during my going away that the last year hasn't been, or the last couple of years really hasn't been easy, and like the boss said, the pandemic was just one of the things, but we lost coworkers, we lost a coworker, lost family, we lost friends, and it's never easy when that happens. But I know that the team came in every single day figuring out, okay, how do we make the squadrons better? How do we make sure that we're helping each other? But in the end, we got to make sure Colonel Dickens and the leadership team looks good in the end. We got to make sure we support them in everything they do. So I appreciate all the work that you guys have done over the last 2 years making that happen. Again, thank you enough. For friends that are here today, it's great to see Team Zimmer. Thank you for coming out. I'm glad to see Hard Rockers represented. So Higgy and Ditch. I know there's a lot of Hard Rockers that are watching here today, so I appreciate you all online and being a part of this. Big Dog, thank you for your friendship and mentorship over the years, a lot of years. And but I always knew that I could give you a call or text, and you would pick up the phone or call me, especially over the last couple years. Well, actually, it's the last month or so, and two, where I'm trying to transition out, trying to figure out my way to this weird world of retirement. Can't thank enough for the Co-9s, so Josh, Stephanie, and Jacob. That's one thing I'm going to miss about the Air Force is there's families and people that you grow up with over 20 plus 25 years, and Co-9s are one where you get to see them throughout your career and touch points, whether it's a TUI or PCS to another assignment, and it's just wonderful that we can spend that time together and do things. We were in Europe together, going to Italy, and other folks who are watching online, whether it's Donovan's going to the beach or Boyle's going to McCall, Idaho. So all those pieces and parts of people that we all know through our careers, it's just great to see that, and we miss it, but at the same time I know that's not going to end. So thank you so much for coming out here. I'd like to thank the civic leaders, so Dave Radcliffe, thank you sir for being out here. Also Joe Murphy. I don't think we realize the awesomeness that the team, the civic leaders do. Not only does Dave and Joe support Nellis, and not just one squadron, but multiple squadrons, but they also support the Las Vegas community, and they have a day job. So thank you so much for our friendship over the years and just your engagement with Team Nellis and the Vegas community. I'd like to thank the squad commanders. Previous squad commanders, Colonel Sposito, Major Perez, Colonel Messing, also the Colonel Ones, Colonel Mansfield, Colonel Williams, Colonel Post, and Colonel Spittler. The boss mentioned a lot of things, but you, in the end, hit the I believe button. Because my goal was to make you better than squadron commanders, quicker than, and learn, don't make the same mistakes that I did. And so when you left and you're squadron commander, you got more SA. More SA how to do things, and how to do civilian hires, how do we get after contracts, how do we define whether they're effective or not. So because we execute a mission, or an exercise, does it mean they're effective? What is that? And then finally the hard one we're trying to get after is how do we train our people? How do we make them better? Because if we train them, then they can stay and move ahead, and we teach each other and move forward. I appreciate you all leading out in front, mentoring your people, and just making your squadrons better each and every day. The awesome part is Colonel Gibney is going to be so impressed with what you guys do, and I know that started today at breakfast. But every change command, and you heard this today, and a lot of the ones is, the outgoing commander is going to say, the incoming commander is always the best person and the right person for the job moving forward. And I'm not saying all those other people are wrong, but Colonel Gibney, 2.5, 3 years ago now, he was leading, back then it was called the multi-domain command control effort. So if you vision him with a flag charging to hell, a lot of other people are looking back going, well, we'll see what happens. And we moved that forward now, 2 years, and in more organizations, people are like, okay, we're on board. And so the awesome part is he's going to roll in and see where we've come over the last 2.5 years, and then he's going to take it to the next level. Because he's already familiar with not only what we do as a wing, but as a group, and he's going to take you guys to the next level. So we're really excited to see what him and Jen and the boys do as we move forward with Joint All-Domain Command Control. So it's awesome you're here, and I'm so excited. I thank my family, a lot of my family, and not only that my dad and Cindy in Idaho, but my aunts and in Montana, my aunt and uncles in Montana, aunts and uncles in Idaho, my sister Jennifer and her family in Washington State, Marty's family in Virginia, especially Kit and Donna. A lot of times, we're in service and sacrifice for our close family, but it's also sacrifice for our extended family. Because we miss out on birthdays and family reunions, and those are tough, and it's really thankful that our family has supported us throughout our journey, and I can't thank them enough. For Caitlin, Morgan, and James, so proud of you. I know it hasn't been difficult to live in the military because you're changing every 2 to 4 years, and especially when kids don't like change. That's the last thing they want, but we make that change every 2 to 4 years. But I hope you can look back and see, the time that we went down to the Disney, land and stayed at the Dream Suite, or did, free reign at Mountain Home as far as Halloween, or out to the National Mall, or overseas, got to go ski the Alps or go to London. A lot of those things a lot of kids don't get to do. So hopefully you can look back and be excited about that. Again, so proud of you. A lot of hard work that you all put into it, and I'm very excited to get back and be part of the family again. But last but certainly not least, Marty. A lot of you know this. She was in, and she was an EPM. She was senior director. She was a senior director in Alaska. Went from there to the prep school, and then down teaching at Tyndall, where we met. And she had a pretty good damn career going forward. And she said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to be part of the family, and my focus is the family. Focus on the kids. Get them to school. Get them to swim meets, track meets. teach James at Mountain Home, mentor spouses, all those things that she did and did well. One of the things that we talk and we tell our kids is, you want to date somebody, you want to marry somebody that makes you a better person. And I think I came out on top on that one because she makes you a better person every day. Whether it's fixing an email that I probably shouldn't say this, maybe I need to communicate a little bit better, or the end, sometimes she'll just say, yeah, you're right, that person is incompetent. I'm like, yes. Now, I'm probably wrong, but she's there. So it's always great to have that cheerleader, in your corner, not only providing you guidance and direction, but support when you need it. It's been a crazy journey, a lot interesting journey, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of awesome things that we were able to do throughout the 20 plus years, and I can't imagine doing it with anybody else. So thank you so much for being here every single time that I needed you and providing love and support. So love you so much. Thank you. Thanks everybody again for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Colonel Yorton. On behalf of the men and women of the 505th Combat Training Group, we thank you and Marty for your generous support and commitment to our mission. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the publishing of the orders and the change of command.
Published order.
Attention to orders. Special order number G21-26, dated 18 June 2021. By order of Colonel Richard R. Dickens, Commander, 505th Command and Control Wing, Colonel Shayne R. Yorton is relieved of command of the 505th Combat Training Group, and Colonel Aaron M. Gibney assumes command effective 18 June 2021.
Sir, I relinquish command. Sir, I assume command.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce the Commander, 505th Combat Training Group, Colonel Aaron M. Gibney.
Hey everybody, thank you. Chuck, that was a long flight. Thank you. I really appreciate what you've done for the 505th, what you've done for its members and its leadership, and I'll remember that invitation the rest of my life. It was special. Thank you. HR, good pipes. Good man. Thank you. Honor Guard, Crawford's, Escorts, Greeters, everybody that volunteered today, that was amazing. Thank you. PA and Protocol, amazing. Colonel Dickens, please pass thanks from Jen and I to Krista. It might have been 30 seconds after the release of the match that she called Jen and talked to her for like a half an hour. So that was special. Please pass on thanks. And thank you from me for rescuing me from my seemingly never-ending 3-year assignment in the Pentagon. But in all seriousness, thank you for your advocacy. We met and talked while we were doing that experimentation. I really appreciate your trust in me and leading your amazing team in the future. So at some level, I was, guilty of making the JADC2 bed, and I'm excited to get to sleep in it now. Be out here. Shiz and Chief, good to see you again. I can't wait to start working with you. Colonel Dreyer and the 99 team, right here in my notes I look forward to your partnership and working with you. Well, something happened earlier today that already happened, and I owe you a story. But the partnership is already there, and it is already appreciated from my family and I. So thank you. To the CTG team, to Cowboy and Bruce and HR and Senior and Josie, thank you so much for making my transition here easy and smooth. It's not easy when they're on their tablets, it's easy, but there were 6 days driving across country, and you guys, when we arrived, you took it, everything was smooth, and it was exactly what we would have wished for. So thank you. To the squadron commanders, boy, I'm really excited to be a part of your team. It was great to have breakfast with you this morning. Our Ron, I'm excited about getting you on board, and we can kick shagging out. And, that's I knew you'd appreciate that. I really am excited to work with you. And one of the things I was thinking about when I wrote this speech is, so I've been going on 22 years, and never in my career would I have ever thought that being in the C2 business was good business or popular or something that anybody would talk about. But we're in a really unique time right now where C2 business is good, so I'm really excited to be a part of your team. Katie, I'm excited to have the ABMS here at Nellis. So, command can be lonely, and I'm going to appreciate your shoulder, man. I appreciate you coming here. Thank you. Big Dog, Pooch, Stephanie, it is really great to see you guys. I know you're here for him, but it's great to see you guys. Snooch and Amy, Ralphie, Randy and Perp, Dave, Amy and Mike. Holy cow, thanks for coming today on Friday. I do appreciate everything that you guys have done for me personally and our family as friends. It really means a lot to us. To the skunk surfeed out there, thanks for making my time on staff not feel like a staff job. I will just leave it there. I was very humbled and honored to be a part of that team where going into the Pentagon wasn't the worst, which it can be. They set the standard, and they really made things easy, and they're some of the ones on the half staff that are accelerating change. So I'm excited to take what they taught me there and continuing it out here. All right, Colonel Yorton and Marty, I want to tell a story about how I met you guys, and that will be it really just be the shining example of who they are. So this was 2006. It was Major Yorton, who was a super intimidating WIC instructor, and there was Captain Gibney, who was a super deer in the headlights plug. So I was prepping for a brief one day, alone and unafraid in this room, doing my board, and SOC comes in and he goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I probably just gave him a deer in the headlight look, and he goes, "Why don't you practice your brief with me before your brief later on this afternoon?" I said, "Well, no, I am not ready. I am not prepared. I need to do all this stuff on the board. This is brand new to me. I'm J-Stars." There's a lot of whining and complaints from this guy. And he goes, No. Let's just sit through it. I can walk you through it. We can take timeouts, and I'll give you." So we gave the brief. It was obviously not a passing brief. He gave me some inputs and things that I need to work on. And he goes, "All right, dude, I got a meeting. I gotta go. Good luck on your ride later this afternoon." Well, lo and behold, a couple hours later, he shows up and he goes, "Oh, there's a scheduling change. I'm going to be your instructor now." And well, guess what? I ended up passing the ride, and it was SOC that knew exactly what I needed at that moment to move forward. He knew that that was a time in the schedule and the syllabus that I was probably struggling more than others, and he really picked me up and carried me through that. So SOC, I appreciate that. Big Dog and Pooch, I talked to the 8 this morning. You cannot retroactively taco me for that word. It is impossible. Marty, you probably are guilty of getting multiple dozens of lugs through by making sure that our papers didn't sound like we were 5th graders. So, thank you. And that is the servant leader, mentorship, the type of friends that those two are. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, from a lot of guys and gals wearing these. Thank you very much for what you've done. All right, to my brothers and their better halves, nieces and nephews, Brady, Kathleen, Galen and Ren, Trevor and Rachel, and Nathan and Tyler, we hope to have you out here soon. I hope that you guys are dialing in on Facebook Live. To Irene and Curtis back home in California, thanks for all your help with this move. This was great. We could not have done this without you. To my parents, Pete and Phyllis back in Indiana, well, I think they're in Philly helping the niece and nephew, Galen and Ren. I owe so much to all of you. You guys have really, truly been the example. The one thing that I need to thank you for the most is when I was 17 and we were trying to figure out how to pay for college, my mom said, you're going to go into ROTC, and she said, I went and talked to the Army recruiters, and that's not what you're going to do. Here's an Air Force pamphlet, and you have an interview for ROTC tomorrow, and a haircut appointment before that. Matthew and Miles, my beautiful boys, I know you can't hear me when you were playing on your tablets. I love you guys. Thanks for keeping us young. Oh, yeah, you paying attention to me? Thanks for keeping us young, and I never in a million years would have thought that they would have sat here. They can't be quiet and they can't sit still, so 1 out of 2 ain't bad. To Jen, thank you for this. Jen retired from the Air Force in December after 20 years. She was a flight nurse, and she put everything on the back burner for the family. And she definitely keeps me centered, keeps me humbled, and makes sure that I'm pointed in the right direction, so thank you. Okay, I've exhausted my time. I can't tell you how humbled I am at this opportunity and to be part of this team. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Colonel Gibney. The Gibney family will now come forward to exchange the commander's insignia. Thank you, Jennifer, Matthew, and Miles. I think he's lined up for the weapons school. Class of 86, anyway. Thank you very much, Matthew, and Noels, and Jennifer. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join us for the singing of the Air Force song and the departure of the national party.
Off we go.